Winds howl and the snow blows, and cattlemen take it all in stride. Ahead on Grow, more on the first blizzard in 2 years and how some farmers who serve their local school used it as a learning experience. Plus news you can use on your farm, details on new dicamba restrictions, and custom harvesters harvest the crops that feed the world. Straight ahead on Grow. The big story this week, the blizzard as nature's fury packed a punch. And while life in Nebraska came to a standstill, there was no snow day on the farm. You're looking at photos and videos from across the region sent by our viewers. The Weather Service says it was a classic winter storm. Sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour, gusts above 50, along with more than a foot of snow in some places. The first legitimate blizzard in 2 years. Nonetheless, ranchers kept livestock watered and fed, some bringing mamas in during calving. And as we gear up for another growing season, a controversial weed killer on the minds of many, NTV's Lauren Coomer has more.
With over 27 different sessions, the hot topic around the conference seemed to be surrounding the herbicide dicamba.
Well, when you look at a map like this, you have to think about how to interpret it.
This year I've included additional information about the new dicamba restricted use pesticide labels.
Og answering those questions many farmers and even other experts have about this new herbicide.
Some of the bigger questions are, how do I get qualified? These new labels simply say that you have to be trained, and there's an awful lot of guidance.
He also says there are a lot of regulations on the herbicide.
These labels are set to expire at the end of the year. Then people start asking details, and there's 20 total record-keeping points now on the label, as opposed to 9 that were traditionally required. So there's just a lot of details, a lot of questions.
Many people coming to the conference for pesticide license recertification, as well as dicamba training and certification.
I think it's important to get to learn how to use different modes of action to take out weeds. And dicamba is something we use, and now that they're requiring you to take this class to spray it, we are all getting our certification, so that's what we're doing here today.
Even though it's an extra step, he says he thinks it's important to properly learn so people don't overspray.
Transpiration change.
It'll help us with weeds, keeping the weeds down, as well as possibly increasing yield.
Be safe out there and follow those regulations and help prevent problems in the future, because if we don't do that, we run the risk of losing those products.
As the nation's leaders debate immigration, it's certainly an issue custom harvesters are well acquainted with. As they struggle to find labor, many of them using the H-2A visa program to bring in foreign workers as they try to harvest the crops that feed the world. Here's more. J.C. Skemper checks out the latest harvest equipment, knowing his customers have high standards.
I expect when I come to them with good equipment and good crew.
The crew part is getting harder for the Holdridge man who recruits for his family's custom harvest business.
I still believe there's still enough farm kids out there that want to do this and have an interest, and maybe just do it one time, maybe do it 2 or 3 times.
They travel the country from Texas to Canada.
We do a lot of wheat, some canola, soybeans, corn.
Greg Thurman, president of the U.S. Custom Harvesters, says they fill a need, especially as farms get bigger.
The farmer hires us for labor because we come in and take it off, and we got enough labor to do it. And you know, he can't justify paying labor for 2 or 3 weeks. We can come in for 2 or 3 weeks, take his crop off, and then we move on.
They're also over-the-road truckers, and getting workers who can obtain a commercial driver's license and commit to months of tough work has become increasingly difficult.
But nowadays, the Americans are in college, the age that we use, or you know, they've already started a life, and a temporary job for 7, 8 months, 9 months doesn't fit them.
So they turn to England, Ireland, South Africa, Spain, New Zealand, and beyond to keep the harvest going.
And we have to run these combines as much as we possibly can to make our payments.
The Skempers trying to keep their business all American, but many crew leaders say the Americans they hire don't stick with it, saying it's not for everyone.
Put them in a camper and take them up and down the road for 7 months. It's a different way of life, but you got to like it.
Leaders of these crews say they recruit hard on Facebook and social media, putting out job wanted ads all over, saying it's become more difficult each and every year to find workers for those crews. And one of those crews, a Holdridge family, inducted into the Custom Harvest Hall of Fame. Laverne and Carlene Skemper are custom harvesters. They run about a half dozen combines. Farmers hire them to cut their wheat and pick their corn. This week they joined the U.S. Custom Harvesters Hall of Fame. Laverne has been at it 50 years and says much has changed.
For old guys, it's too much. We're from the old school. It's way above our head anymore. A lot of this equipment is technology. Yeah.
Machines have gotten bigger and cover a lot more acres per day, and our biggest problem now is getting good hired help that wants to stay with us for 6 months.
Despite the challenging nature of a job that has them always on the road, they say it's been rewarding to travel as a family, and 3 of their 4 kids are still part of the family business. Many of those crops are exported internationally. It's been 1 year since the president pulled out of the TPP. This week, one Nebraska farm group putting pressure on the president to find new markets for our agricultural commodities. NTV's Ifisinachi Ivo Simba has our story.
The Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal includes 11 other countries along the Pacific. The pact aims to reduce trade barriers and encourage exchanges between those nations. That deal set to be final later this year.
Every day that goes by that we aren't part of either a larger agreement or part of numerous bilateral trade agreements, we stand to lose business for farmers and ranchers in Nebraska.
The Nebraska Farm Bureau estimates the TPP agreement would have increased state ag exports by $229 million. It's a deal economists say would benefit the ag sector while leaving the manufacturing industry to compete with imports from other nations.
I think the current impact is more on trust than the trade itself.
University of Nebraska at Kearney Economics Department Chair Dr. Frank Tankering tells me overall withdrawing from TPP would not have significant impact on America's overall economy, but entering the agreement in 2016, then abandoning it less than a year later could damage international trade relations. Thursday, in an unexpected development, President Trump saying he's open to taking the U.S. back into the agreement if it's renegotiated.
I think the president is willing. I mean, he keeps saying that he's willing to start the conversation again. So I think there's hope.
Our concern is, though, that while we try to make those parts of trade agreements better, that we do damage to the parts of the trade agreements that are good for agriculture.
And on the state level, we continue to track property tax relief plans, including a proposal from a farm senator, Senator Tom Breezy of Albion.
The bill itself would provide immediate property tax relief, will identify revenue sources to fund the relief, and will provide soft caps to taxing authority to ensure long-term relief while protecting education.
Do you believe that farmers will get behind this, Senator? And what about school districts? What do you think there as well?
Well, LB 1084, it's the culmination of a long, collaborative, bipartisan effort by a wide variety of stakeholders. And at the table in our discussions were education groups and then ag groups and property tax groups representing commercial and residential property tax interests also. So we have a broad-based coalition in place that I feel the vast majority of Nebraskans will support this effort, and I am optimistic about our chances to move this effort forward because of the broad-based coalition we have working together on this project.
Still to come, while many farmers have concerns about property taxes, many farmers also serving their local schools and educating kids about what they do. We'll have that story coming up, plus more on dicamba as a restricted use pesticide. Stay with us.